Hi everyone, welcome to Analytics Tableau user group meeting for the June edition. It's really good to see all the hellos from everywhere. Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining. Today, we are going to have our June edition where we are having great session. It's around AI using ChatGPT hacks as well as from the DataDev community. So, what makes this tug a bit different? It's all about analytics. We have been doing this for a long, thanks to Annabelle and thanks to you as well. And it takes place every month. Great place to learn not just analytics, but altogether how Tableau features are evolving. And once at a time, we are also bringing those Tableau product managers to bring those new features to you directly here. If you haven't registered yet, I hope you are already registered. But if you haven't, please scan this QR code. And also, we'll put that, it's already there in the link. So you can use that as well. Now, coming down to our tech leaders, first we have Annabelle. She is enjoying life right now. I think she's on a vacation as well. And then we have Chimdi, who is a database designer and a developer at Westside Analytics. And this is me, Prasan. I'm a senior BI engineer at Emirates NBD. Before we move on to the stars of today, we'll talk about our leaders. First, we have Annabelle. She's a visionary as well as an ambassador. She worked as a Tableau enablement and analytics lead, and she is currently up for grabs. So, if you're looking for someone to lead your team and your whole enablement gamut, she's the one. She discovered Tableau 10 years ago and fell in love immediately. She has 6 VOTD and she is co leading the Antic Stack as well as the Enablement and Data Plus Women webinar. Fun fact about her, she loves baking. For other people, next year you're going to bring it. I don't think it can survive, but that's fine. And you can check out her YouTube channel as well. So lots of you can just take screenshots right now quickly. It won't be possible to scan all the QR codes, so you can quickly just take all the snaps as soon as possible. Okay, next up, it's me. I'm a visionary as an ambassador as well, and I fell in love with Tableau in 2020. And I'm working at Emirates NBD, where I'm leading the financial reporting, as well as I love community building and mentoring. That got me from nowhere to here. And through all this sharing and lots of people around the community, it helped me grow my community as well on LinkedIn. I love data art and I have 4 VOTDs. And I just love cats, food, and anime. I'm trying to tone down on food, but I still love food. And then we have our rock star Chimdi Nosu. He is also a visionary and ambassador. He has 14 VOTD. Okay, so me and Annabelle have been trying to catch up so that both, when we add both of our VOTDs, we can at least, is it now 14 or 16? I think it would have, I think, increased. And he leads the one of the famous community challenges, Make Home Monday, and participates in those challenges as well. And he's a strong believer of functional aesthetics. And he enjoys documentaries, and also he's attempting to make melodies on the keyboard and working out. Kudos to you, and me too. And yes, Pablo, yes, full of visionaries, yes, Hall of Famers as well. It's a big room right now. Okay, so ground rules, everyone. Please interact in the chat. You're already doing it, and most of you have been here in Analytics Talk sessions, so you know it all. So enjoy. Don't get into putting all those notes around because the recording will be there as well. And you can also put your questions down in the Q&A section. That will really help us because there are lots of conversations going to be around in the chat box. Okay, so now I'll hand over to Chimdi to take us through the agenda and then also for our speakers.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Prasad. So awesome talks coming your way today. First part's already done, introduction, and we're going to move on to our next speaker. Basically, we've got Anne going first, talking about bringing AI into our Tableau workflow. but without the hype, just real, authentic, usable stuff. We have Pablo, who's going to talk about revolutionizing our data analysis, also using ChatGPT and Tableau. We're going to learn some new stuff there. And Cristian and Nick are going to do a joint talk, and they're going to talk about breaking boundaries and basically exploring community and headless BI. So, a lot of technical stuff coming today. And finally, at the end of it, we're going to have a quick quiz where you're going to be able to win some real cold hard cash, $100 for 3 different people. So look forward to that. Hopefully you stay till the end to be able to participate. Next slide, please. Awesome. So now we're going to bring in our speakers, and we've got our first one coming up, and is Visionary Hall of Fame. So that basically lets you know she's been here doing her thing for a really long time. She's been bringing a lot of value, and we're really lucky to have her here today. She's an entrepreneur. She's a recognized expert in AI and analytics strategy. She's a co-founder at Jackson 2, and currently functions there as the owner and managing director. So, of course, you can tell she's got a lot of experience, over a decade in data analytics and visualization. And her passion is basically making complex technologies, especially, with respect to generative AI, accessible and valuable for everyone. So she's also the author of a book called Learning AI Tools in Tableau. I believe that came out in February. You definitely need to check that out. It's something to definitely improve, how we work. She's previously hosted a podcast, and she continues to share unfiltered insights through career advice and technical tutorials. You can find her on Substack and Medium. I've seen both of those places. She's got a lot of value there. So maybe, and if you don't mind later, you can help us drop some of those links in the chat. And as the field of AI evolves and focuses on how the emerging technologies can enhance both the creative and practical aspects of human life. And of course, today her talk, as you can guess, is probably something to do with AI, and it's titled Bringing AI into Your Tableau Workflow Without the Hype. So we're going to pass it over to Anne to get us the goodies and get us going today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let me go ahead and share my screen and get my presentation going. First of all, it's wonderful to be here. I haven't actually done a Tableau user group presentation in a very long time. As the team mentioned, I'm probably the oldest by just virtue of time, not age, visionary among us, which means, I've been around the block. I think I first started using Tableau around 2015, and I think I felt really old at that point, like I was behind the game. But everybody is new to their journey at some point. As everyone said, today I am here to talk to you about how to bring AI into your Tableau workflow without the hype, or at least that is the hope. A little bit more about me. I like to putting out a things I love to do slide. So obviously, like most of you, I love to analyze, visualize, and communicate data. In particular, inside the realm of the Tableau community, and my work, I've always loved helping people embrace data and understand data, empower others with data skills. A lot of times that takes the form of things like this, presentations or writing books, articles, or virtual courses. Right now, I'm really obsessed with solving problems, particularly with AI. In my free time, I like to play board games and puzzles, and I love to proclaim that my cats are the best cats in the universe. So if you're a cat person, I applaud you. I do like dogs as well, but cats hold a special place in my heart. Now that you know a little bit about me, let's go ahead and dive into the topic of the day, which is AI in Tableau. Now, this is obviously the first real slide of my deck, and this is where I got kind of stuck for a bit of time because I was like, how am I best going to present this? And I kind of went down a couple paths. First, it's very fair to say that right now the Tableau product ecosystem is a mess. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's very challenging to know what is where, especially when you bring AI into the equation. And so after a long think about the whole thing, I decided it was probably best to break it down by task. This is designed to help you sort of understand if you don't have AI yet in your organization, or maybe you do. This slide, hopefully you'll take a screenshot of it, is designed to be something you can kind of give to your manager or your stakeholders to kind of understand what AI tools in Tableau mean. So there's 4 main tasks. The first one is probably what you're most familiar with. It's summarizing and surfacing insights. There's also the ability to support building data solutions. There's generative AI that can help you describe and label your data. And then there's also decision support and monitoring. Now, within those, that breaks down into different products or tools or features that are available within the different platforms. So if we're talking about the Tableau cloud world and you're thinking about AI that summarizes and surfaces insights, that's Tableau Pulse. It does that by way of insight summaries and digests, and I'm going to show you a little bit of real Tableau Pulse in a bit here. There's also the Q&A inside of Tableau Pulse, also called Discover, where you can ask questions or click on pre-made questions to get answers. And then in Tableau Next, which I won't be talking about a lot today, there's something called Concierge. So if you were at the Tableau conference or you saw the keynotes and you saw that chatbot over on the right side, whenever they were presenting, that's Concierge. So within Concierge, you can do natural language queries. So ask questions, you'll get back charts in some situations, and you can do ad hoc analysis. When we talk about building data solutions, the way this kind of shows up in AI, or what the AI tools are Tableau Agent. So Tableau Agent is available both for the authoring experience, so desktop or authoring in Tableau Cloud, and Prep Builder. So in that sense, it can help you prepare and visualize your data. It can also help you build calculated fields. And then in Tableau Next, there's something called Data Pro, which can help you prepare, model, and visualize your data as well. Then we get to describing and labeling your data. This exists pretty much everywhere, and I will talk about why toward the end of my presentation. So in Tableau Pulse, you can use AI to help define your metrics, the behavior. There's Draft with AI inside of Tableau Cloud, so you can use that to draft descriptions of your data sources, your workbooks, pretty much anything. And then in Data Pro, there's also a space for you to add descriptions or define behavior of specific metrics. And then decision support and monitoring. This one's probably the most interesting to me, and I think it gets a lot of confusion in the Tableau community. So decision support and monitoring, what that looks like, and I'm going to focus on the first and the last one, is the Insights platform inside of Tableau Pulse. Now, if you've been around the Tableau world or the Salesforce world for a long enough time, you'll realize there's something called Einstein. Einstein's having a bit of sort of like a rebrand moment, I would say, and it's kind of gone from like Einstein everywhere to Einstein in specific parts. But the way I think about Einstein is it's statistical tests. So think about things like outlier detection. Is it 2 or 3 standard deviations beyond the mean or the median? Those are statistical tests. So that is artificial intelligence, but it's not generative AI. And the same thing is true when you think about Inspector, which is in Tableau Next. So I like to point that out, that not all of these solutions are generative AI. Most of them are, but not all of them. And I think that that's really important, especially when you're thinking about the trustworthiness of AI, what it all means. And it's worth saying that Tableau and Salesforce implement AI very specifically, where they use generative AI, anything that's that sort of text-based interaction, and they butt that up against 2 sort of other things. One is these statistical tests, this Einstein trust layer, as they call it, where behind the scenes there are statistical tests going on, and the LLMs are basically pulling back these pre-aggregated or made numbers along the way. And then the last thing I want to say is, who are these AI tools used for? What are these tasks? And so I kind of break it down into 2 personas. So first, you all that are here today, which I'd call analytics creators, the AI tools that you're going to be using, or that are most just for you, not for anyone else, are the ones that are going to help you build data solutions and describe and label your data. So these are things that are productivity improvers, right? These are supposed to keep you, I like to say, keep you in the flow of work or flow of analysis better, or in the realm of like doing descriptions. I don't know about you, but anytime it's like, oh my gosh, I need to write like a really good description of this, it's like I've already done all the fun, hard work of problem solving and making like a really cool dashboard or metric or whatever. Like, this is the last thing I want to do. That's the point of anything that's sort of to make it a little bit easier, less admin intensive to work with your data. And then the other two, summarizing and surfacing insights and decision support and monitoring, those are really for your analytics consumers. Now, you do have a say in terms of when you create these things, what happens, particularly in that orange section, right? When we talk about how you set up the insights platform and how you work with that, that is completely within your control. But these are things that your end users, the people consuming anything you make, are going to see. So I think it's really important to kind of separate those out among all the different things that you can do. If you are new to AI in Tableau or just in general, I always like to say start with Tableau Pulse. That's not just because I wrote a book about it. It's because I truly believe it's like the easiest place and most straightforward place to begin your AI journey in Tableau. And that's because it does something really well, which is very linearly, you go from building a metric, right? Coming up with something, you then describe that metric, then you set up the monitoring capabilities for it, and then finally it's served up to your end users in summarized fashions in ways that they can ask and answer questions. So like I said, these are all very logical in my mind in terms of how you get started with AI and what Tableau Pulse does. Tableau Pulse is interesting. I think there's a lot of different perspectives on it, but one thing I really want to demystify here, I mean, this is me saying absolutely no hype, is not everything is a good candidate for a Tableau Pulse metric. So I really wanted to get into what makes a great Tableau Pulse metric before I dive into a real example. So when I think about what makes a great Pulse metric, so let's say you have Tableau Cloud and your manager's like, hey, why aren't we using AI tools? Why aren't we using Pulse yet? This is what I want you to keep in your mind. And this is the talk track I think will help you as you describe what that experience is and what good candidates are. So there's three top level things I want you to think about. First is the data structure and quality associated with it, and I'll get into some more particulars. Next is the business understanding around that metric, and finally is its insight potential. So let me dig into each of those more specifically. So when I say data structure and quality, first, whenever you use a Pulse metric, it needs to be a published data source. For something to be a published data source, at least in my mind, it needs to be a well-vetted data source that people trust. Trust is kind of key here when we talk about AI tools. So it needs to be something, it won't work just out of the box if it's not a published data source. So you need that. It needs to have a consistent time dimension. I can't underscore that enough. Pulse really, really relies, I would say overly relies on time dimensions. So that's something that's pretty critical for you to have. The data source that you're working with, I would recommend that it's updated daily or very frequently. You're going to see that it requires looking back pretty much every day to see how things change. And then ideally, your data source is going to have useful categories. That's for a variety of reasons. One is for filtering your data, so slicing and dicing it. And the other one really has to do with what sort of useful insights you can potentially unearth from it. When it comes to business understanding, obviously you're going to want a clear metric definition, and I'll speak to why that is a little bit more. Ideally, this metric that you are choosing to put in Pulse has directional meaning. So very simply, does going up mean good or bad, right? Is there favorability or unfavorability in that? Where if it's a constant line every day, I mean, maybe that's interesting if it's something that's extremely well under control, like every day we want 0 errors and you want that line chart to be nothing, that's great. But in general, you're going to get more value out of Pulse if it has some sort of up and down meaning. And similarly, Tableau Pulse relies heavily on historical context. So when you think about it, we're talking descriptive analytics, where the big thing it's doing is comparing to the past. So what was it like last year at the same time, last month at the same time? So historical context and using that as a comparison or like a foundation to what you're doing, to the metric in general, is honestly required. You're not going to get a lot of value if you have a Pulse metric where you don't care necessarily what happened in the past. You'll get some, but I think you'll get more value out of it if you have that. And then in terms of insight potential, I mean, I've already talked about the trending a bit, and you know, if you've seen Pulse for any amount of time, that this pretty much functions at a top level around line charts. So you're going to want something where the trend behavior, so that up and down or the slope of that line, right? How it's moving, what that's happening, the velocity of the change of the metric is important. Contributors to change are another thing that is also sort of key when you think about it. That goes back to those useful categories. So is there something, some dimension within our data source that if it could be unearthed or considered, means something, contributes impactfully to this metric. And then the last one is outliers. Do they drive action or are they useful to you? So when you think about it, that means you have a record of data, there's a value associated with it. If that value is, I'm just going to say, statistically out of control, right? Because we're talking about statistical methods, that can be useful because Pulse can unearth that. Some other things before I get into an example, things you'll want to avoid. So if it's missing a time dimension, just don't even consider it for Pulse. It's not going to be useful. If it's a time dimension that's more granular than a day, also out of scope. There's two reasons for that. One is you just can't do at this point in time anything more granular than day in Pulse. The second is that for a lot of this, that means that the data is being updated more frequently. So real-time metrics are also not a good thing for Pulse. In my experience and from what I've seen, Pulse pretty much generates these insights every 24 hours or updates these summaries every 24 hours. So that means anything where you need to see sort of intraday changes, Pulse is not the best tool for you. And then if it's a one-off snapshot, so let's say it's an A/B test or a survey, it's a one and done thing, this is not going to be the place for your This is not going to be the solution. Pulse is not going to be the solution for that. You're much better off building out a dashboard or some other type of analysis. Pulse metrics are long-standing, honestly, kind of somewhat boring business metrics that people want to look at every day and see what's going on. Almost like the weather might be a good way to describe it. Bonuses that will make your Pulse metric even better if it has a shared data source. So if there are many metrics that you can generate from one data source, that's going to be really great for you. If you have multiple metrics that share a time range, so you always look at them the same way, I'm going to look at these 3 metrics by quarter, year to date, etc., that will be really well. And that has everything to do with the Tableau Plus license lets you do sort of advanced or expanded Pulse Q&A. And what that does is it actually does these 3 things. It looks for metrics that share a data source, metrics that share a time range, and it also scans across the descriptions for these metrics, and it will attempt to then, as it scans these things, bring that in to have, maybe more holistic or broader insights. Before I move on, just worth saying, a lot of what I'm sharing with you today is inside of my book. So if you don't get what you need today, please, I'm going to have some information at the end to help you out. I'm going to start with a dashboard as an example, and I'm going to jump out of the slide in just a second. So here's a very simple dashboard. I actually specifically modeled this after Salesforce data. So in Salesforce, you have this idea of an opportunity. This is a fake software sales organization. So you can imagine one opportunity is a chance to sell software licenses to some customer. Those have an associated value with them. You can see in the upper right, there is a parameter to set the time range. You can see those top level KPIs or bands have these big numbers and they have comparisons to prior periods. And then you can see 3 different dimensions throughout that are useful. One is this opportunity type, so everything that's going down vertically here, then horizontally the stage matrix, and then I've also got the pipeline by territory. Now, I find this to be a very good exercise, especially if you're new to Pulse. Take one of your most used dashboards and see how it really stands up to being reimagined inside of Pulse. This one, I'll tell you why it's good. It's got those categories for further filtering and narrowing. It's got the time dimension with multiple horizons. It also has time comparisons, and there's categories for breakdowns. And then that bonus here, so this is one data source, and you can see, hey, it's got, time ranges related, they're in the same data source, and they have related definitions or descriptions. So let me jump into Tableau for you really quick so that we can actually see this. Let me get out a full screen here. Okay. So here is that Tableau dashboard. And let me just do some quick interactivity. So this is the software sales pipeline. Here's that parameter I talked about. So you can specify, is it year to date, quarter to date, or month to date, and everything will change. You see your large KPIs in the middle. There's some baseline interactivity, so you can click to filter to a specific region. This might be really valuable. This is a kind of a dashboard I think is good for everybody, right? The audience of this thing is huge and massive. There's many different personas you could think about. And then it also has this nice matrix that really lets you sort of drill in a little bit deeper. So let's say you wanted to focus on new business. What is driving new business, or where is driving new business? You can see that territory bar chart on the right. Go ahead and update. So this isn't like extremely detailed analysis, but it gives a good broad overview. You can imagine someone coming in and doing a couple little clicks, a couple little tweaks to get the numbers they might need for a presentation. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. So if you've ever tried to make one of these KPIs in Tableau, you'll know it's notoriously difficult. The thing that you have to do to actually generate this, so I've got a text type visualization, right? And I've got all of these different calculations here. Let me show you this picture. So these are all of the calculated fields I had to make to get just this to show and have the parameter put in place. So we've got, is it the current month, is it the current quarter, or is it the current year? Then I have a parameter that specifies which time period to use based on what it's set to. So if it's set to month to date, I want the filtering of my data to be by month. If it's quarter, and if it's year to date, and so on. Similarly, I need to figure out the prior period, the comparison period associated with that. So I've got another set of 3 calculations that are filtering that data for whatever that comparative time period is. And you can see, of course, we've got a same parameter that will define which filter calculation we should use. And then down here, I've got the actual calculations that you see on the KPI, which is the current value. So if it falls within whichever of these is specified, return the amount. That's just the value associated with that opportunity. Otherwise, it's going to null it out. And then you've got the same thing for the prior, the value percentage difference and the value delta. So that percent diff, which is very critical, it's up or down X percent compared to that prior period, and then that numerical value associated with it. So yeah, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 calculations you have to make just to do this. Now there's some synergy there, right? Those time period calculations you can do again, and there's a lot of copy paste, but honestly, it's a lot of effort. And this is one of the things I want to say right out of the gate is Pulse is going to be way better at doing this than you on your own. And I'm going to show you now what this looks like in Pulse so you get a good sense of that. And we can do a couple comparisons here. So let me hop over to Pulse so you can see all of those metrics. Now, I went ahead and added them. I've got them sorted by recently followed. So ideally, they follow the same path that you see in that dashboard here, where we've got the pipeline generated, the new opportunities, the average opportunity value, won deals, and so on. First, let's just pause and look at the insights you get. So you can see a few things. You can see that it's giving you that top level insight summary, what's happened, which is, you know, potentially useful. Probably the most useful thing when I look at this is that one metric changed favorably and the other 4 were unfavorably. And you can see how those build. I mentioned contributors, and you can see that that's already taking shape, where you see things like just 2 members in opportunity stage make up the majority of pipeline generated. You can see that comes out again in a lot of these other areas. And then you can see some comparisons to prior time periods. Now, let me just jump into one of these quickly before we kind of move on to the next thing. So here's that metric that's been created, and here's what you get. Here's some of that Q&A that you can click on. But let me go ahead and edit the definition. And this is that sort of 4-step process I was mentioning. So you come in here, you specify what your metric is, you do the description and so on, you set up what the value is. You'll see here I've got one definition filter that aligns exactly with my filter shelf. If you're looking at it, that I'm just basically excluding anything that's already won. The team doesn't need credit for that, they already have it. And then you get a little bit more advanced. The time section, so when we talk about this is the build part, this is the build and describe part. Same thing, build and describe. This is a little bit of insight and decision support because you can set goals inside your Pulse metrics. But here's really where I think the secret sauce is in that Einstein insight layer is you can specify which insight types you want. And as I mentioned, these are really broken down into 3 concepts. So the first one is trends, like the shape of that line, does it matter and does it mean something? That's this guy. The dimensions that you've chosen for various filters, do they drive, do they detract from it? Are there a certain concentration of them that are contributing more than another one? And then finally, record level outlier detection. So, you know, do I want to look at individual opportunities and maybe there's one that's really high or really low? Do I want that to be a potential insight element within my metric? You can also set up the governance of this, which is to certify the definition, and you can specify who can modify it. I'm going to go ahead and save that definition, and let's just kind of look through this. So when you think about behavior, this is where you'll see some similarities to that dashboard. I can specify month to date, quarter to date. I can even come in and I can filter to, say, the specific Pacific Northeast territory, much like I could in the dashboard, right? So you get a lot of that same behavior and functionality. The thing that's different is, the way I like to think about it is, for your end users, there's a narrated insight, or what is it that I'm seeing that comes out of it. So in our dashboard, where maybe you click on Pacific Northwest and you can see some of these things, the cognitive processing is actually done by AI to say, okay, here's everything that's changed, but here's what it means that it changed, right? It increased, and that might not necessarily be as clear, and other things along the way. So I hope that this helps you see a little bit more about the utility of Pulse and what it can be useful for. I think there's a lot to do further with Pulse, but it is something that I think you'll want to continue to watch. I know I'm getting pretty tight on time, so I'm going to keep going, but let me move forward. So how do you get AI ready? So let's say you are someone who uses Tableau already inside your organization, whether that's server, cloud, maybe you have a Salesforce instance and you're working on Tableau Next or getting that set up. There's three things I really want you to think about, and it doesn't really matter at this point where this is or what this is. I want you to think about the data layer. That's where your data lives. So that could be Data Cloud if you're a Salesforce only organization. That could be Snowflake. Honestly, that could be extracts on your Tableau server and Tableau Cloud. It doesn't really matter, but it's where your data is stored. The next layer I want you to think about is the transformation layer. So this is where your data is organized and, I'd say, combined. So in Tableau Next, that might be the semantic layer. In your organization, that might be SQL queries. It might be DBT. It might be Tableau Prep. But where you're basically commingling data and you're actually generating legitimate data sets that will become published data sources. And then the last one is the consumption layer. Ideally, if you're on this call today, that consumption layer is going to be Tableau. But it doesn't have to be. It's where your data is presented. And this is what I want you to think about. And this, honestly, it doesn't matter. You could be a Power BI shop and the same thing holds. What I want you to think about is how you get AI ready. And that has everything to do with what I call semantic enrichment. If you were at the Tableau conference, or if you've been looking around, you'll know that AI thrives on context and information. You got to tell it what it doesn't know. And so what this means is, I think for you to get AI ready, even if you don't have AI tools now, you really need to focus on this concept. So in the data layer, that means figuring out source system linkages, defining them or making sure they're known. What are the external connections to your source systems as well, or what other connections are there, and relationships between those tables. Now, again, imagine this is the data lake. This is your data dump area. They're not necessarily pretty tables at this point, but knowing the relationship among those is critical. So if you haven't documented those or you're not thinking about it, I would start there. The transformation layer, this is where you're doing your semantic modeling. So you're joining, where you're actually building out calculations, or maybe you're doing like statements in SQL to clean your data. This might also be a good place to confine things to different subject areas and potentially add business context or explain what those metrics really are. This could be the published data source level if you are a pure Tableau shop. And then finally, the consumption layer. You're also going to need to do a lot of work here, building up what those metric definitions are, adding tagging, so making it easy for people to search, how you organize things in folders, and as I've already said ad nauseum, descriptions. It's really the combination of all of these things that's going to allow AI to plug in and ideally be useful. The other thing that this means is you need to start consolidating now. If you have the same data source repeated 17 times, this is your opportunity to turn it into one published data source. I would say that by virtue of how easy it is to develop in Tableau, we've all neglected this. Also because kind of what I said earlier, it's kind of boring, but this is the chance for you to actually do that and to make a compelling case to consolidate your data sources and actually even come up with a strategy. You might be saying, oh my gosh, Anne, we do some things where the extracts are the beginning, that is the data layer, and then we transform it in prep, and then we have a dashboard. But other things come from Snowflake or a SQL server, right? This could be all over the map. You really need to get specific about these different things and decide what information needs to live in each one. And then the last thing I want to kind of end with is if you don't have Tableau AI, that's not a problem. One of the things I did at the end of last year was actually do a video course about data analysis in ChatGPT, so using generative AI techniques. Now, this bingo board, as I call it, has all the different things that you can actually do with generative AI. This is specifically in ChatGPT where you're leaning heavily and relying heavily on Python. These are my favorites, and I'll talk to you about why they're my favorites. So theme and pattern extraction, sentiment analysis, I'm sort of looking at that bottom left section. Anything that is unstructured data, so text-based data, reviews, etc., generative AI is going to thrive here. So if you're thinking about, okay, I have Microsoft Copilot, I have access to ChatGPT, I have access to maybe Anthropic, but I don't have AI tools in Tableau. How can I actually upskill what I do as an analyst? And these are really good ways to do it. I like to think about things that Tableau can't do. So you guys can disagree with me because technically you could do sentiment analysis by connecting to a TabPy server and writing some Python code. But trust me, it's going to be a lot easier to do that in something like ChatGPT. It can help you generate and refine code across any system. I think we're seeing that today, that AI is really good at that. I also like to say it can perform conversant macros. So if you think about a problem that you're solving and you do it in a certain order, after you do that, you can actually say, hey, remember the steps we took here and do that next time. The really good example I have is, let's say you come up with like 4 little blurbs about something from a data set. Now, a month later, you need to go back and do the same thing. Just tell ChatGPT to remember that and it will recreate that step. And then the last one's advanced statistical modeling. So anything that's atypical, I actually think it's really good at forecasting because it can make models on the fly. So like simple forecasts, like something that might be a linear regression, it can do quite quickly for you and help you think through what might matter. As I close out, I wanted to point you to some resources for you to learn. I put a lot of my sort of paywall content through O'Reilly as a publisher. The book that was mentioned, Learning AI Tools in Tableau, as was mentioned, it came out in February. It's tiny, but it's very approachable. It's actually quite different than my first book that I did with Luke Stanky. That's, as I have here, doubles as a doorstop because it's 575 pages. But the key here is, I would say you can get all of this stuff in one place, which is the O'Reilly Learning Platform. I would tell you to do the 10-day free trial, or thankfully, O'Reilly actually has a lot of contracts with large enterprises, so you might already have access to it. If not, you can pay $49 a month. It also has this Gen AI for business analysis. So everything I mentioned, if anything on this bingo board is of use to you and you want to see it, I've got a video course up there. The whole thing is really short, small modules that are very tacky with examples for you to go through. So even if you spend the next 10 days, you don't even have to put a credit card in. You're going to upskill and learn things. The book is tiny, so you'll get through this 176 pages in no time. It's actually quite different than Tableau Strategies. You don't have to be hands-on. It's going to walk you through picture by picture how to do everything. And then the other thing before I kind of end and allow for questions is, if you want to follow me or want to learn more about me, these are some resources. So I'm actually really obsessed with this new sort of social media platform called Benable, which lets you create lists of different resources. So I've been using Benable to curate resources, both Tableau resources and AI resources. I also catalog all the Lego sets that I've built on here as well. So if you follow me on Benable, you'll be able to see these. There's nothing that you're paying for on here. It's literally just curated lists to YouTube videos, etc., all kinds of things. And then I also publish on both Medium and Substack. Substack's free right now because I'm trying to grow it, and it's actually a little bit easier for me to publish on. So most things go there. And then my paywalled articles go on Medium. You can follow me on LinkedIn. You can follow me on X if you still happen to go there. And then you can also check out my Tableau public profile. I know I've gone through quite a bit, so I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'm hoping that this gives you a real sense of what AI can do and can't do within the Tableau ecosystem. And then we have any questions?
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Anne. That was really great. Lots of information. So I think we're definitely going to have to go back and watch. But we do have a few questions, actually quite a lot of questions. So I'm going to try to go through a few. But then maybe after, if you don't mind, could you please just jump in to the Q&A and help us out a bit? All right, let's see. Let's go start from here. So I guess this one is asking about what you mentioned. What was this app? The one where you say people may have access to it. Basically, someone's asking what that means.
To Tableau AI tools?
No, the it was mentioned like just few seconds ago towards the end. Why is my brain not firing up with this? Um, the paid thing.
Oh, the O'Reilly platform?
Yeah, I believe
The
so. Yes.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with O'Reilly, they do a lot of technical books. They've always done technical books. So you can access it just by going to O'Reilly.com. The main thing is a lot of large enterprises, especially if they have software as a strong vertical, it will be part of it. So it actually encourage you to check there first. It's kind of like almost like if you go to a public library, it's like, oh yeah, I get free access to the New York Times. It's like that. This might be an unknown benefit you have within your organization. If not, I would actually have your manager look into it because it has broad utility beyond just the Tableau world, beyond analytics. It covers really everything in that regard. And they actually made a really huge push to put a lot of AI, technical AI content up very early on, like that course example. But if not, you can just go to O'Reilly.com. The personal plan is what will get you that 10-day free trial without a credit card and is what costs $49. I didn't mention this, but that's cheaper than any of those things by themselves. I don't know how much this book is going for right now on Amazon, but you can see how big it is. I kind of like how small it is because that shows you what's actually here, right? I'm kind of proud that it's kind of tiny, but you could read that in 10 days, no problem. I also get more money if you go through the O'Reilly platform than if you get a paper copy. So you can save trees and avoid Amazon all in one go.
Awesome. Thank you. Another one we've got is explain again how to do sentiment analysis in Tableau without Python. I know how to use Python, but not without. That's from Ken.
Okay, so sentiment analysis in Tableau without without another programming language, not possible. That's my opinion. It's just not possible. If you want to use TabPy, so you can connect your Tableau dashboards to an external statistical or analytical server, as they call it, and build out Python scripts. So the basic premise of this is you pass your data set. So imagine it's a CSV, it's a data frame in the Python world, but you're passing this data, and then there's programming under the hood that's scoring things. And sentiment analysis is this idea is text, positive, negative, or neutral on a 0 to 1 scale, and you can customize that. So to do this inside of Tableau by itself, you would write that sentiment analysis, connect it to your Python server. Actually, what it looks like is a calculated field where you have this Python in there. If you do it inside the ChatGPT realm, it's very similar where you would just maybe upload a CSV or give it a data table and tell it to do that. And what it's going to do in these AI tools is actually show you the Python under the hood. So let's say you do use Tableau to do sentiment analysis. I would actually start with an AI tool to begin with that functions off of Python to write that out. But without any of those things, without Python or R, you're not going to be able to do it.
Awesome. So in short, you definitely need some coding there. Hopefully that's not an issue. Perfect. Okay, let's do two quick ones. I'll see if we can combine them. So the first one is, can monthly data be a candidate for Pulse metrics? And then can you apply row level security by user to Pulse?
So can monthly data be a good Pulse candidate? Yes, but you're going to lose out on some functionality. So there is the ability to determine what the lowest grain of time the mark can be. That's a newer thing. So in the past, you know how you have that stupid plus that expands on your charts and desktop? The same thing would happen in Pulse where you could go down to week and day and so on. You can actually limit the time grain now. So if it is monthly, you can do that, and it will limit the different ways you can look into your data with Pulse. So yes, you can do it with monthly. I would say you'd want more historic information, probably 2 or 3 years worth if possible, to get the full value out of it. And then does row level security work in Pulse? Yes. I'm like 99% on this, but if you want to tell me I'm wrong, you can, but it should work, and that's because they're published data sources. So it does know who you are from a user perspective, and it should do that. You will see that the insight summaries will be different per user if you have RLS implemented.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Anne, for those questions. I think there's about 1 or 2 that might still need to be addressed. So I guess if you don't mind taking a look in the Q&A, that'd be awesome. And we're going to move on to the next speaker. We just heard a bunch about Pulse, and now we're going to move on to Pablo.
We have a change in the queue. First, Cristian and
Cristian.
Nick will be going, and then Pablo.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So I guess we're gonna have on Cristian and Nick to do a joint presentation. And so we're gonna first introduce Cristian, who is a Tableau Visionary and a 4-time DataDev ambassador. He is a seasoned data and analytics leader with over 20 years of experience in data warehousing, business intelligence, and data visualization. He's currently serving as a manager of data analytics at Cardinal Health, and he's passionate about transforming data into insights that drive action and improve healthcare outcomes. Cristian's mission is to harness data to enhance the quality, safety, and efficiency of healthcare delivery for patients and customers worldwide. He brings a global perspective to his work and thrives at the intersection of innovation and impact. And he's constantly looking for new ways to turn data into meaningful and measurable change. And so the talk today is called Breaking Boundaries, Exploring Community and Headless BI. And we're going to do a quick introduction for Nick as well. So Nick is a 2-time Tableau ambassador and a data-driven technologist with more than 8 years of experience, specializing in data engineering, data visualization, and product development across enterprise environments. He holds a degree in computer science. He's got an MBA in strategic and economic business management. He is 6-time Microsoft certified in a bunch of things you can see there, 5 times in DevOps and Agile. So lots of technical stuff. And he also holds credentials in Databricks, Tableau, project management, Airflow, and of course, he can speak Spanish. Currently at Reimagined, Nick is leading the efforts in commercial analytics. His work spans the full modern data stack with tools like Azure Data Factory, Databricks, Tableau, and more. He's known for his problem-solving mindset, his clear communication, and his love for data. Nick is passionate about empowering others through knowledge sharing and driving value through thoughtful and scalable solutions. And again, he's going to be collaborating with Cristian, and together they're going to talk to us about breaking boundaries, exploring community and headless business intelligence. So over to you both. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, give me a second to share my screen. Please confirm that you can see it. You can see the presentation? Yes?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for coming. This is a recap of the presentation that Nick and me did in the DC. That is why we still have the Tableau conference in the top. Breaking boundaries and exploring community. We are going to talk more about the DataDev community. And Headless BI is a technology that is called BDS and make that you can do some analysis without the interface that have Tableau. Then that is basically what we are going to talk. At the beginning, I want that Nick introduce himself because he has also another part in the community. And Nick, can you talk about it?
Hello. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. So I am Nick Dutra. I am from Brazil, and nowadays I am data product manager at Experian. So I lead the Tableau community here in Brazil. We have a specific behavior because we use the WhatsApp for the interactions. So I am so glad to be here, and thank you very much for this opportunity to be besides about Chris. My English is a little bit rusty since TC, but I will try my best today.
Thank you, Nick. I can hear you really clear and well. In my case, I am Cristian Saavedra. It's funny because I am not working in Cardinal Health. I left the company a year ago. Now I am working in Geomatrix, that is a partner of Tableau and Salesforce. And I am the leader in the solution area, solution and infrastructure area. A part of that, really active in the community as a visionary and DataDev ambassador, but also a lot of really push the ideas in talks like a Comunidad TUG in Spanish, Career Path Maker, and DataDev TUG. A part of that, we just founded, I mean, from the last year, around October, we founded DataDev Quest. That is a challenge that you can do DataDev stuff monthly. And if you want to contact with me, the best way is by LinkedIn. Then the agenda for today is first step into DataDev. The second one is about what is the data developer tools that you can get it there, how to join the community, and a demo about VDS. Then Nick, can you tell us about that?
Yes. So DataDev program is actually a complete hub of tools that can transform the way you work with Tableau in your daily basis. Okay, so it brings together active forums, updates of the last release, detailed documentation, and most importantly, the community of the professionals ready to support and help you whenever you need it.
In this program, also, we can get many resources that we call it developer tools that is in the webpage. I'm going to show about that. Also, you will get a developer sandbox that we are going to talk more in detail about that. We have a really like a live connection because we use Slack. A few months ago, begin to change from the forums and the social media to the Slack for the rest of the community. We basically do that a long time ago, and we're really active there. A part of that, we have examples in the GitHub repository, trainings, access to the pre-release, and hackathons. Then about developer tools, what it is. Basically, developer tools is a different APIs and access that you can get with coding or programming. And then with these, you can automate, you can connect, enrich, extend, or embed things in Tableau. For example, automatization, when you have a lot of problems to solve with administration in Tableau, like, hey, I need a report of the users, or I need to automate that when something happened, for example, when a extra don't refresh, I need to send a workflow to somebody, approve something. Then these kind of things can be automated with the developer tools. For example, with REST API, we basically do a lot of calls to the administration part and automate all of these things. Metadata can give you reports about, with a simple query, basically you can see, hey, which one are the list of the dashboard that are connected with other workbooks, and then, sorry, with data sources. Then in a simple list, you can get it. Things that is really difficult to get with the normal interface that Tableau has. For webhooks, for example, webhooks, that it means is that a Tableau server trigger an event and let the program to that happen, and then from there you can do something. For example, if you just publish a workbook and then you want to, when that happens, knows to verify something or approve something, then that is something that you can do with webhooks. Extend, when we talk about extend, basically we are thinking in, hey, we have two ways to extend. And what is extend? It's basically you can embed some page inside of Tableau, or in a web page, you can put Tableau. Then for do that, we have extensions that is, for example, extension that Tristan did, Merlin did with the Infotop, with his company. And with these extensions, basically you can do something that Tableau cannot do in the original stuff, but can do it with the data that is available. Then with dashboard extensions, you can basically create a new, let's call it like, for example, when you have an Excel and you have something that is installed inside of Excel, and then you can run it inside, that is basically dashboard extension for a dashboard. And this extension do the same, but with the internal sheet. Like if you say, hey, I have my cards, and in the cards I want something else. Like for example, I don't know, I want to create a graph, like the connection of many points in a graph that Tableau is difficult to do, or for example, a waterfall chart that also need a lot of steps to do it. You basically can do all of these in a web page with a JavaScript, and then connect this JavaScript with Tableau directly. And the way how to do it is with presentation and dashboard extensions. The embedded part is about, you have a web page, and in this web page you want to involve a piece that is showing Tableau, and then a part of that you want that connect the rest of the web page with this part that is working in Tableau. Doing that, basically you can have a page that have, for example, you click in some part of the page because have a button or something, and then say, hey, go to this tab, and then it's going to do it. And the page is not going to refresh. Then doing that, you have a lot of possibilities because you can change all the way how it's presented in your company. And all of these APIs that I am mentioning is basically the core base that is used in many products in Salesforce, for example. Embedded API is one of them. When you go to Salesforce and you saw that you invoke Tableau inside of Salesforce, it's because this API exists. But you can do it also by yourself, and basically need to connect and do a couple of stuff. Then we have other ones that is for handle the extracts, that is called Hyper API. Other one that is to basically create live analytical queries using Python or R, and that too, all of them you can get it in the web page. Then I want to show you about the web page, what we are talking about. This is the web page that you need to go. It's Tableau Developer, and in the developer part, you can get any of the part that I show you. And if you click in the buttons, then you can go all of the resources related. Apart of that, the second presentation, the next presentation is about, hey, we can get our own Tableau Cloud sandbox. And with that, it's a fully Tableau Cloud environment with 3 users that is made by Tableau for the DataDev community, only for do testing. Because all of these things we want to do is a little more, have a more complexity that the normal work that to do with the rest of the community. Basically, because of that, Tableau gives us the access to have a Tableau Cloud developer site. Then if you go to you follow this, that is basically go to the web page, and you click in this button that says you want to get a free sandbox, basically you will see a page like this one, where you can get your own Tableau site as the normal Tableau sites, and then there you can have administration, have a creator, have a viewer, and do a lot of tests. Like how can I publish the data with an API, or how can I do, for example, if I refresh the data in my own script, and then I want that this publish automatically, how can I do that? Then all of these things is made for testing, means that the condition in behind when you read the privacy statement is that cannot be used for like a share commercial stuff. And that is in general what it is. I recommend you to read about the privacy statement. If you want to know more in detail how you can get it, I have a blog post. That is this one. I can share the link there. And basically here is going to tell you step by step from the beginning to people that doesn't have any idea how to do this stuff, and then you can see it. Then Nick, tell us about the community or the data community.
Excellent explanation, Chris. So currently we are 26 ambassadors, and 5 visionaries. So Chris, my superhero, the superhero of DataDev, is here. He's a visionary. So, and the number of these persons is growing up every year. So driven by the outreach, the DataDev quest, Chris will explain further and clearly. And the Tableau conference, we saw a lot of sessions about DataDev. So because the high level of the agents, because the automation, integrations, and AI at all. So I am so glad to be in this cohort, and I know this you change the format of the Tableau ambassador overall, but for me it's a big pleasure to be in this group. So Chris, could you pass for the next?
Yes, thank you about that. There is something important to recap in the community is that everybody can be a data dev.
Yes.
You don't need to have a technical background. You don't need to be an engineer. You don't need to be I know people that is a doctor and have a medical, like all the time is around the medicine, and is only a story a little about Python, a story about, hey, how can I begin, follow the challenge in the data request, and then begin to solve their own problems. I know that it's scary. I know many people automatically say the word code or the word programming, software development, and then it's scary and say that is not for me. But right now it's really easy. Right now it's easy to begin. You can ask to ChatGPT and it basically can copy and paste. And if you begin to know how can I take this code and run it, then you can begin to solve your own problems. And that is why this DataDev community is growing a lot. We are the youngest community. We begin with, I think, that 4 people. Then from there moved to 17, I think, the last year, and then 26 now. And the next one sounds like will continue growing, because I saw a lot of the new potential ambassadors that can be there. If you have questions about this, we are kind of not family, but we are really close friends. Almost everybody of us recognize the faces, and then basically we know who is best for some cases, and you can connect with us by Slack, and we are going to tell you, hey, this one is the best person that you can connect, and then I am sure that the person is going to help you, because we are really curious. That is the part that is make the difference from the other communities, is that the data are really curious about how to do stuff.
A great example for that, Chris, is because vSQL data service is something new. So when it was launched, all of us started to call and understand and create some solutions. So because of this huge community of DataDev, right? So it's only to point out this situation that you mentioned.
Thank you. In fact, now that you mentioned that, one of our visionary is Anna. And Anne, basically, the background that she has is history, and from history moved to business. And in business doesn't have anything to do with the technical stuff. And she's a visionary. She knows a lot of this stuff, only because she's curious and begin to dig and use it.
Great, Chris. And something about the Slack, we have something like a personal Slack to discuss about DataDev. So you can submit your doubt, you can call me, call Chris, another ambassadors to solve some problem, to ask something. So point out to the QR code and start this journey with us. So
Yes, Nick. Thank you for remembering me that. The another thing that we want to show you is about DataDev Quest. DataDev Quest is a mimic that about the challenge for the DataDev, taking the ideas that Makeover Monday do or WoW do, and basically that we are doing right now is, hey, people who has an expert level in some APIs, for example, basically is creating a simple challenge that basically you follow the steps and then you can get it by yourself. And then at the end, it's going to ask you, hey, what about if you try to do this stuff? How can you do it? Then monthly, we let that, and the next month we are going to bring you the solution, and the solution is in the web page. We are growing. The people is, is growing the quantity of people that is every time submitting the sessions. And here is a lot of knowledge that is really deep knowledge in a simple way. You can get all of that in the DataDev quest page. Okay, let's talk about BSQL data service or Headless BI.
So here we have like a sum up and a little explanation about BSQL data service. But I need to start saying that BSQL is a powerful enabler. Why? Because it's as data from a published data in your Tableau cloud, right? And transform it into a structured JSON output. So from there, you can query and use this data however you like, whether in an app, in a website, or even integrate with a language model like a LLM. So it's a enabler. When we start to showing this, for example, LangChain, AI is not a solution of AI from Tableau. It's an enabler to use that in whenever we want. So this is a big picture for VSQL data services. So we will explain with some demos. And but you, Chris, you can show us about the architecture for that. So
Before to go there, let me explain a little more about what it is. Imagine that you have, you remember that Tableau make a difference between all the BI tools in the past, because say we are not only a BI tool, we are a visualization tool. Okay, what happened if you remove the visualization part of Tableau? Is it still Tableau or what it is? And at the end, you have a more complex software. Tableau is not only the visualization part. Tableau is also the server that have all the data sources, and these data sources are curated, meaning that is the last mile, is what the people use to take decisions. Then if I want to have an application that do something else with the data, for example, I don't know, integrate in a map all your stores, and then click there in the store in an app, and this app show you some information about the store that I want to have the last information that is validated by business user, and not only the one that is saved in a data warehouse or in a data lake or something else. Because normally can, I'll give you a simple example. If I am a territory manager and I know that this antenna or store is not there, that the location that say is not mine, but it's only because geographically sound that is in another territory, and basically should be not there. Basically in Tableau, the people that do the decision can easily move it to another group and say, no, this store is part of our territory. Then it's curated, is something that the people do it to take decisions. If I create an app, I want to connect to this data. And that is something that was enabled to do using BSQL data services. Basically, BSQL data services is an API that you can connect to published data sources and get basically the exact data that is right now using by Tableau. The data that you saw, also you can create on the line queries, for example, like the top 10 using context, or creating calculations on the fly and without the interface that has Tableau. Then about the architecture, basically, this is an example of that. Nick, can you help me with the first part?
Yes. For the first time, we have the traditional Tableau architecture. So you have your data source in a specialized data layer. And when you publish this data source, all of this thing, Tableau Cloud or server. So because of that, you can use that in your dashboards or metrics and directly send it to your end user. So Headless BI is like when you query this data, insert it in the published data source, and use it in another ways. For example, Salesforce, for Llama, or apps and sites. So Chris, you can explain better about this application, but it's like this besides about the difference of the traditional use and VDS use.
Sure. I think that you explained really well, but only I want to emphasize in something that you mentioned. Thanks to BSQL data services, right now we can do something, for example, with a chat box that connect with a OpenAI, iStan, Anthropic, and in this chat box you can ask direct questions to the data. If you saw in the PC, they show a chat box that access inside of Tableau as a extension that have a small tag that say LangChain project. This thing is a GitHub repository that is available and you can use it. And internally is using VDS to do this stuff. Then VDS is enabled to connect applications like a mobile applications, web page, or platforms using queries directly to the published data sources.
Yes. And Chris, something good to point out here is when we are talking, I saw some comments from, let me see, from N, because the security. So SQL is good because we are using the data source published in Tableau Cloud and using, for example, for a LLM. Why? I can use this data in a specialized layer, in a gold layer. Yes, you can. But here in SQL, you are using the same data for your Tableau dashboards. So clearly, you are using the same number, the same perspective, the same querying, the same actions of your dashboard. So it's good to point out because it's good not only for enabler, for artificial intelligence or sites and apps, but to take this governance and use your LLM. It's good to point out this information because it's a richness for visual data service.
And you are fully right about that, and about the security. I want to also I didn't mention, but if you have a published data source, also you have already defined the security about permission, who can see this data source. Then when you are using BSQL data services, you can take the same permission that the user is using, and then you can block or not, depending on the user that is connected with the API. Then you don't need to do it twice. The another thing that you don't need to do twice is, for example, it's easy in Tableau to create a calculation. For example, hey, I want to know the profit. I want to know that the only for the lot calculations, that is a little more complex to do with SQL, for example. Then imagine that you already did all the calculations in the data source, in the published data source, and then somebody say, no, we need to create this application using the data warehouse or the data lake. Then basically all of the calculation that you already did, they need to migrate there because they have the raw data, or not the raw data, they have the data in a way that is a model previous to consumer end users. It's more about the layer that have an analytical way to see the data. That means that normally they don't have these calculations that we do in Tableau. Meaning that if you connect the applications directly to the data lake, you need to do this exercise twice, and the maintain is a problem. Then we can remove all of these, you connecting directly to the data source that is in Tableau with VDS. Hey, about this slide, something that I want to bring up is about the contribution. You can be a contributor as this person that is here. And I want to show, because normally these things happen and change from one person to another, and then the people begin to forget the history around that. The person that was involved in this project by years ago was Thomas Nam, and his mind is amazing. He's a really smart guy who defined internally how this is working, and because he's a port to the project, now is what it is. Joseph is the current PM of BDS, and he make a lot of changes. He is trying to improve the project, the project all the time. Then, in fact, you can connect with him by the Slack channel in the DataDev. Stefan created line change and worked with me in the project of the line change with Tableau, and his support is amazing. He in the link in the background is that, and this is using BDS. And Kyle, that is another ambassador and also co-founder of the DataDev Quest, he created a web page that with this link, basically you can easily get the JSON that you need to create to use in your application with clicks. Like, hey, give me, I want to know for example, the workbooks, and then list the workbook that you have, and then for them you can create a filter, and then you can create something at the end. It's going to give you the link, and the JSON that you need to put it in your scripts. And now we are talking about a demo. Then I did a demo that is more for aspiring to show you, I mean, like, hey, wait, I was thinking what I can create that take the attention and begin to know what you can do with PDS that is far away from Tableau. Then in my case, the demo that I built is using Tableau server, BDS, and WebGL. WebGL is a technology that is basically to do 3D stuff in the web browser. And because I love comics, I love gaming, and then I want to know more about Marvel. Marvel is a comic that I follow, and then I want to know more about that. Then let me show you. And I forgot to, before that, if you want to know about Python, not only pandas, Python, I recommend this book because in this book, it's more oriented to pandas, but also talk about Python. And the author is William Ait. William is one person that is really active in the community, and basically he created TabPy. That is one of the libraries that we use to do some things with Hyper APIs. And it's faster, by the way. And he explained really well about this stuff. Then I recommend this book. Is really well wrote. And Will is one of the persons that was more experienced that I know. He is one core developer in pandas. That means that he knows how pandas work internally. And this book is amazing. Then for my presentation, I'm going to begin with Tableau Public. Hey, Tableau Public, if you don't know, Tableau Public is an amazing tool. It's a basic place. Basically here, Tableau gives us the possibility to public our own dashboards, but it's going to be used by anyone that go to this place. It's kind of, if you don't have your own Tableau server, then you can publish here and can be shown by the community. Then here I begin and say, hey, I want to know about Marvel. And then I begin to show, hey, this one are the one that is available, and then click it there and show. But this one took my attention. This one is one that was made by Safana. Safana is a leader in the community, is a person that have a name in the community, is an amazing person. And she also allowed me to use it to present. This internally have a complex data. What she did was create the connection between all the characters and the movies. Then in this dashboard, you can see all these lines that is there is basically showing that one character, for example, in the left say 23 other characters are connected with this scientist. I choose there's Darley Lewis. And then a part of that have some information about which one are the powers ability, some information about trivia. It's really nice because the data that is here is complex. It's a lot of data, and visualize this is not easy. Then in my case, I say, hey, what the first that I did is remember that your own cloud developer site. Then I get my cloud developer site, and then from there I basically take her dashboard. Basically, I download it here in the Tableau workbook locally in my computer. Then I republish in my cloud developer site. And the only thing that I did different is that I split the data sources, and then now I have a published data source. Then in this data source, you will get some information about, hey, the trivia, the characters, but also this two is the one that took my attention, that is the relation from one to another. Then I created this web page. It's a Python script. It's easy. It's not complex to do, and I can share the code if you need it. Then in this one, when I click load, basically what I'm doing is taking all the characters and creating a graph that is connecting all these dots that is here, and each of these is basically a character. And then it's really fun because you can do, I mean, a navigation or anyone is more something that you cannot do right now with Tableau yet. Basically, I can do things, for example, hey, I want to know more about this person, then I can move it, and then I can analyze which one are the connection between them. I show this to my family. My son is a Spider-Man fan, and he say, wow, I love it. It looks like a Spider-Man web. And then I show to my wife, and she say, oh, but fun, I mean, is really cool, but I don't understand the value. Then because of that, I begin to think about that, what else I can add to this. And then I basically added this button that now with this, I added all the pictures that are in the marbles. Then now it's easier to show the relations. Then I can, for example, check which one are the relation with Thanos, with Cork, for example. Then I can click Cork here, and then I know all the people that is related with Cork. But then it's a little still different. Then I add the filter. It's something that you can do with the VDS. And now it's a lot easier to know with Cork what are the relation with them. Then, for example, all of these people is related with that. Then that is my demo that I want to show you is something cool that I say, but it's more as an inspiration of what you can do with VDS. Like, hey, think like now you have the power to do an external application that connect directly with the data sources in Tableau, the published data source in Tableau, then you can do a lot of stuff. Then Nick, if you want, we can continue with your one.
Yes, Chris. So I am so impacted here. It's a masterpiece, man. Great. So when we see the VDS using, for example, in the specifically comparing with Tableau, imagine that we are pairing data like creating a dashboard, like create a sheet, So, Chris, could you show to us the dashboard, the part of the graphs here? So, for example, in this case, we have a simple graph here looking at dimension and aggregation with category and the profit sum. So we need to query this exactly data for use and some application. Using the VDS in the code. So Chris, could you change for the code? Yes, good. Thank you very much. So we have a lot of steps using the request, the JSON, querying, for example, informations about the Tableau Cloud, parameters, information. So first we have authentication we are using this, our request for API to access our Tableau Cloud. After that, we have some information about headers, and here is the point. So remember the solution that Chris mentioned about Kyle? So this is the body. The body, it's like JSON that you write So copying the same structure of your dashboard and saying, okay, VDS, I need query this field of category and the field caption of profit and making the function of sum. I will sum this data. So it's the same structure of your creating your sheet. So when you have this response, so we'll gathering all this body and sending to VGS. And when we have the result, we will have the same result of the data presented in the dashboard. So the graph. So yes, the same response data. So information here. This information is collected as a JSON, and when we using this in a code platform, for example, a Jupyter, as Chris mentioned to showing to us, so we can change this data and use in the better way that we want. So this is a step-to-step this code. We have this code in my GitHub. I can share with you. So further analysis. So another and the last example, Chris, because the time, could you go for directly for the example 5? I think it's like a advanced example. So here, guys, we have something like the same structure for the example 1. It's the example 1 is simpler than this, but the example 5 use the top N. It's not so advanced, but is like a filter that we are using is in a complex way comparing with the others. So we have the same structure, the product name, some sales, and we have the top N. So when we use the vSQL data service code, so Chris, could you go to the code? Yes, thank you. So for this example 5, the 5 is the last, Chris. Yes, great. So we are using the same structure, the same. We are authentication in the server. We are doing the authentication mode for all of these things is documented in Tableau REST API. But what is changing here? So what is changing is the filters. But for the filter, we are expressing the product name. After that, the filter type, top, the number, 5, and all of these things, the filter measure is the sum sales. Now, we action the top, and we change this direction as well. So when we see this code run, we have the same information of the sheet, the graph. So we can use it implementing a link chain, implementing a website, embedded in our app. So comparing with the example of Chris queried all of the data about Marvel. So and gather all this data in JSON and structured to be shown in a WebGL. So we are extracting, but not extracting, querying this data and use the better way that we need, but our use case. So I think that, Chris, some explanation. And when we compare the dashboard, so we have the graph, we have the V's. We compare with the vSQL, we have the data in JSON. Why Headless BI? Because now we can use the data using the dashboard, use the metrics, and querying using the JSON by VGS. So thank you. Thank you very much. Chris,
Thank you for your time.
Here.
Thank you for your time. If you want to connect with us, the easier way is by linking or the Slack channel in the DataDev in the DataDev community in Slack.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Cristian and Nick. That was a really cool demo that you guys did there for VDS. That's cool. And I guess the overall idea here is that, you don't need to be super crazy technical to be a data dev. So I think, For starters, those who are interested, definitely check out the DataDev Quest. I quickly checked out a page, and I think it's something that could be very helpful if you want to kind of get your hands dirty there. So thanks again. And if there are any questions, please put them in the Q&A. And Kristen and Nick, please help us check that out as we go along. Thank you so much. All right, so now we're going to our final speaker here. And that is going to be Pablo. So Pablo is, I believe, a Tableau Visionary, or was, and he's been an ambassador since 2017. He's got over 20 years of experience helping organizations turn complex data into compelling stories. He's from Argentina, but he's now based in the UK. And so he's definitely active in the UK London TUG. I see him there on the videos all the time. He serves as a database lead at the British Standards Institution, BSI, and he designs accessible, insight-driven dashboards that drive strategic decision-making. He's also very experienced. He's got a lot of, he's worked with global brands like Kellogg's, HSBC, Baxter, Brambles, and more. Pablo's been using Tableau since 2013, so definitely a long time. And according to him, he found it to be the ideal platform to blend his passion for data and graphic design. And so, like, definitely, if you check out his profile, you're going to see some interesting designs there, which kind of give an idea that he's definitely one that thinks, beyond just, the data stuff. He's also an active community leader. Like I mentioned, he co-leads the London TUG. He also co-leads the Latino TUG, which is called Comunidades. So be sure to check that out. And he's a frequent speaker at the Tableau conference and different user events around the world, like this one where he is today. He champions the power of Tableau Public as a space for continuous inspiration, growth, and skill building in your data storytelling skills. Today he's going to talk to us about how to revolutionize our data analysis using ChatGPT and Tableau like never before. So some more AI stuff, some more automation related things, and hopefully, we get to learn a lot from him as well. So over to you, Pablo.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me all right? We're good?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to move my screen over there to the left, and we're going to share the screen. Let me know if you can see my screen. Supposed to be all right? Yeah?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Excellent. All right. Okay, we are going to go at a really high pace at the moment, but the good news is I'll give you a link at the end of my presentation where you will be able to download the whole presentation as a PDF, but also you will be able to download the prompts and everything we're going to be doing in ChatGPT right now today. So don't worry about taking screenshots. Everything is going to be there for you at the end of the presentation. So I have already given Annabelle all my links, so she'll be able to post them in the chat as well. I like my presentations to be super interactive, so I'll be asking you questions along the way. So I hope and I wait for you to actually participate, right? So let's talk about ChatGPT and Tableau, right? How many of you at the moment are using ChatGPT? Just give me a yes or no in the chat right next to you. How many of you use this? Yes, Anne, yes, Annabelle, John, William, Rini, yes, Andrew, Caroline, me, yes, excellent, fantastic. For those who are using ChatGPT, I'll give you some tools that will help you improve your processes and your workflow in Tableau. It's not going to fix all the issues. It's not going to solve all the problems, but it's going to help you along the way while you're actually working. Now, who am I? Well, Tim D already mentioned everything there is almost to know about me. I'm originally from Argentina, 3 times Tableau Visionary, 8 times Tableau Ambassador, Tableau Public Ambassador, co-lead the Comunidades Tableau user group in Spanish. And those are the links if you want to join and connect with me at some point, either my website, Data Monster, Twitter, X, or LinkedIn. I would love for you to connect on LinkedIn if we are not connected already. So feel free to connect. They'll be absolutely great. Now, have you ever, tell me in the messages, if you ever had this dream? that you'll be doing something like this one day, and Tableau will not be on the screen, but it will be right in front of you, right? What do you think? Have you ever had this dream in the past? Well, yes, Ellen, perfect. Yes, me too. I have always dreamed of something all the time, and yes, definitely yes. So one day we're going to get there. We're not that far, I believe. So we're going to get there one day. But in the meantime, we're going to be using some other tools. Just a quick story about the origins of AI and whether everything all began. Basically, can anyone dare or guess when everything started? When were the first kind of indications about AI or intelligence, artificial intelligence? Can anyone guess? Year approximately? Turing, yes. Jean, very good. Good to see you here. 50s, Anne Jackson, yes, absolutely. Yes, you're absolutely right. Alan Turing was the first one to draw what we call the Turing test or imitation game. And he asked basically the simple question, can machines think at some point? In 1956, the term AI was used for the first time. And in 1966, ELIZA was the first natural language processing program that was that make a very small talk or interaction with humans. So we're going back all the way to this 50s, 70 years ago. A long time happened, and not so much, but in 2015, OpenAI was founded. Google introduced in 2016 what they call transformer model. Attention is all you need, basically. And in 2018, ChatGPT, OpenAI releases the first GPT. Now, everything sped up from that point onwards, and in 2020, OpenAI launches GPT-3, which was a groundbreaking. It was something that was completely different from everything that we have used in the past. In 2023, GPT-4 becomes the more context-aware and accurate model. In 2024, GPT-4.0 emerges, can start using text, image, and audio in real time. And finally, in 2025, we have new models, more advanced models, basically, but also they introduced what they call projects, memory, and new tools within ChatGPT. What we are focusing in ChatGPT today is basically because we are going to be demonstrating everything in ChatGPT. But also, in the meantime, there were other tools and other models and other AIs that were going around. Claude, for example, great for reasoning and safer outputs. Google Gemini, great when it's working in their own Google workspace, if you're using it. Image generation booms, right? Like, for example, Midjourney, DALL-E, Adobe Firefly, those are great to generate images from text. And then the last boom was, which has been the agents or plugins to collaborate and automate tasks along the way. But this is all just the beginning, and we know that. Now, how can ChatGPT start helping us in our data visualization, right? When we are working on our GPTs, when we're working on our workbooks, how can it help us? I'm going to give you a demo, 3 use cases, 2 for sure, 1 extra bonus if we have time. Basically, then again, everything that is, I'm going to show you, even the prompts, you'll be able to download later on, right? So please understand this is a demo, which means that everything can go right, everything can go wrong. So bear with me, be patient. Let's hope for the best that everything is going to go right. 3 use cases I mentioned. First one, we're going to use ChatGPT to help us resolve errors. And you will see one of the errors that most commonly come along our way when we're working. We're going to create custom color palettes for our visualization or dashboards. And we're going to see if ChatGPT can think and create documents for us, right? First one, you have a QR code there. Annabelle's going to also add the link in the chat as well. So basically, raise your hand if you ever had the issue of cannot mix aggregate and non-aggregated arguments in this formula, with this formula. Raise your hand or say yes in the chat. I think we have all been there at some point. Yes, 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 all the time. Hey, excellent. Absolutely, yes. We have all been there. Next, we're going to go and we're going to create stunning color palettes, new color palettes. I use this GPT all the time, and I'm going to show you some really interesting use cases for that. And last, if we have time, we're going to see how can GPT-03 can actually help us, can think and help us build and create a document, right? And see how far it has gone in terms of the new technologies, and how far it can go in terms of thinking, right? Okay, let's go for case number 1, right? Cannot mix aggregate formula, right? So we're going to copy this example. Then again, everything is in the where you're going to be able to download it. The link that I will share with you and in the downloadable file as well is here. This is a GPT. This is a special GPT, a special piece of work that you can create in ChatGPT, where you can actually determine certain actions or certain things for ChatGPT to work with and to help you with. And this is one of the ones that I created. I created this one specifically for one of my colleagues who actually started working with us not long ago. And basically, he was moving from Power BI to Tableau, and he was asking me all the time, why is Tableau doing this to me? And why it was doing this to him? It was the cannot mix aggregate formula, right? So if we go to start here, it will ask me which language I want to continue. We're going to say in English, of course, right? Then to make it more personal, my name is Pablo, right? And basically it's asking me if I can paste the formula, right? That is giving me a headache in terms of aggregation and non-aggregation. So all I'm going to do is, without any other context, I'm going to give that formula. As you can see, it not only starts analyzing the formula, but also it will start showing me or teaching me what's wrong or what's an aggregated value and what's not an aggregated value within that simple formula that we have over there. So basically, not only is it actually showing me where the error is or what the problem is, it's actually telling me how to fix it. And there's going to give me 2 options most likely. One of them is make everything an aggregate, right? Or make everything a non-aggregate. And it's also going to give me the different way to actually use it in Tableau. I can copy this and it can go straight away into Tableau and basically see if it works or not. Now, in some of the cases, it will work. Most of the cases will work. Other cases, you will have to iterate and rework the situation with ChatGPT until you actually get it right. So that's one of the examples. Some time ago, I found this in the old forum, and this person was actually having the same issue. Well, cannot mix aggregate and non-aggregate comparisons. So I'm going to copy everything, right? And I'm going to copy all this, and we're going to give ChatGPT another formula, another situation, right? And see if it can help us, right, with that. As you can see, it's actually telling us what the problem was. It's actually starting to tell us where the solution could be. It's giving us some different options on how to work that solution within Tableau, right? Then again, we'll have to go then later on and see if it works, and then try to make sure that everything that is actually giving us, it's actually working. The reason why I'm actually copying and pasted the whole issue is because I want to give it context to ChatGPT and say, okay, this is what the problem is. This is a real case scenario. This is a real situation, as well as we have this other one as well. This other one is also another case where this person was having an issue with that formula, right? And we're going to copy all that, go back to ChatGPT and say, okay, can you look into this one now, please? And it's going to start looking into it. And then again, it's going to break down, it's going to give us a breakdown of the problem, where the problem is, right? It's going to help us step by step how to fix it. So it's going to help us how to fix that first issue, right? The level of detail, the LOD, and then an alternative way of aggregate everything, and a final working solution, right? Assuming, as it says, that loss is actually that value that we created, that calculate field is actually working. It's also giving us a tip. So at some point, it's giving us a tip as well. So basically, the good news is that we can actually copy all this as part of the formula, go back into Tableau and paste it and see if it actually works exactly as it's meant to be. So that's one of the two options, right, that we're going to be looking at. It works really well. I mean, in my personal opinion, it has worked about basically about 80% of the time. So sometimes that we have to iterate and say, look, this is not working. It's giving me this other error. Can we change this in here and there? Obviously, because it's not connecting directly to Tableau or the data source, as the guys were mentioning before, it will have to try to imagine and give us the best answer. So don't worry if for any reasons, right, it's not working at the first attempt, and you will probably have to work a little bit more in terms of how to fix those issues, right? All good? Yes. How is it going? Are we all right over there? Excellent. Fantastic. Great. Now we're going to move into the second option, right? And we're going to ask Tableau to create Power BI. Oh, Power BI Tableau. I'm really bad today. Sorry. We're going to ask ChatGPT. That's the good one. We're going to ask ChatGPT to basically create color palette for us, right? Now, then again, as in the presentation when they were mentioning what I like doing, I love creating long form visualizations or kind of infographics myself, and I always struggle to get color palettes or the right color palettes when I'm building something from scratch. So I move from one color palette to another, and in the past I used to spend a lot of time until I actually got the right colors for my visualization. So for that, I started saying, okay, I created the first color palette at some point, and said, this is great. It was working. But then I had to repeat the same task for other projects or other situations. And then I said, okay, if I can start automating all this, it'll be great. And that's when I created the database color palette generator. So I'm going to start the conversation saying, can you create a color palette for me, right? And it's asking me some simple questions, right? I can answer all those questions, or I can paste a simple prompt, right? For those who like Formula One, I love Formula One. Myself and my son, we watch every single race, practice sessions as well, qualifying, everything. And Franco Colapinto, who is Argentinian, is now racing for Alpine Formula One. So I want to create a visualization about Alpine and Franco Colapinto, and I want to have some sort of very simple, very stylish color palette for that simple work. And basically what it's actually doing, right, it's starting to work, it's starting to create, as you can see, it's showing me in the background how it's actually calculating all that, right? And it created a color palette. For some reason, it's not showing me the preview, right? So cannot see the image preview. Right, let's see if it creates the image preview now, because for some reason, sometimes it fails, and that's the reason. That's what happens. There we go. Now it generated the image as we wanted, right? And it's actually given me some colors, right? And I can say, this is perfect. This is fantastic. I can actually say to ChatGPT, passionate red is not correct. Right. Can you, with the traditional Alpine pink. And what's going to do is going to generate another color instead of that one. There we go. Now it's looking more like the Alpine color palette and all the colors that this is actually part of Alpine, the Formula One. And the good news is, and I don't know if you happen to see this question at the end of the prompt, right? Have you seen this? It's asking us if I want this color palette to be part of my Tableau preferences. Have you ever used or changed colors on your Tableau preferences file in Tableau? In Tableau? Yes, yes, Cristian, William, yes, yep, exactly, yes. Fantastic. I'm going to say, yes, please. I want this color palette, right, as part of my Tableau preferences file. And has actually created two color palettes, one the regular one and one a sequential one for us. Now, for those who have used or created this and at some point or work with ChatGPT with preferences file, it's on the Documents, My Tableau repository. All you have to do is right-click. Do not double-click because it's going to open Tableau and it's not going to work. So I'm going to open this in Notepad. And as you can see, I already have one preferences file. And if I go back to ChatGPT, I'm going to copy the regular color palette. I'm going to paste it here, right? All great. Don't forget to save it. And if I go and open Tableau at some point, let me just unveil the screen, open Tableau in here. Just 1 second. What it's going to do is I'm going to open it. Just 1 second. I'm going to open a specific workbook in particular so we can actually see it. Right. So I've got this view, this visualization at the moment. It doesn't mean absolutely anything, but what I want to do is to show you. Then as I go to colors, edit, and I bring this into here, what will happen is, as you can see, here at the bottom, we have the color palette that we just created, right? So as you can see, it's super easy. I can assign this color palette, I can apply those colors, and automatically I have changed those into there, and I'm going to make that probably that color. Winter is going to be white, and we can make something like this. I mean, we have different options, and obviously we can iterate, as I showed you a couple of minutes ago, we can iterate on every single one of those colors, right? I'm going to close this. I'm not going to save it, and that's the example number one. I'm going to create another example, right? And this time I'm going to tell ChatGPT that I'm working on a color palette, right, about climate change, right? And I want to have 3 harmonious colors, right, for my infographic, and it's going to start doing the whole process again, right? And as you can see, it's given me only 3 colors, and the reason for that is because I asked for 3 colors only, and that's all I wanted. So it's giving me an amber, a smoky orange, and a deep ocean blue, right? And here are the colors. Once again, if I wanted it for Tableau, I can take it straight away into Tableau and copy those links, right? Copy everything into that. Now, I'm going to show you one more example, right? And for many of those, you can tell me, oh, you can say, Pablo, this is great. However, what happens if I'm working in my company, right? And we already have our color palettes, we already have our branding guidelines, and cannot use any of the colors that the GPT is going to create or generate for me? This is a very question. This is a very valid option. I recently worked with a client, right, that basically they gave me this, right, as their color palette. So as you can see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different sections, 4 different type of colors. They're giving me the RGB colors, CMYK as well, and the hex code. In the past, what I should have done, or what I would have done, is say, okay, I'm going to go into the preferences file, copy each one of these hex colors, codes basically, and take them and create all that. Thankfully, now we have ChatGPT for that. And because we have ChatGPT, I'm going to ask ChatGPT specifically to create a specific 5 different preferences file colors, and all of them will be available in different sections, in different color palettes. Plus, I'm going to add the file with those color palettes that I was actually showing you a couple of minutes ago. And what ChatGPT is going to do now is, instead of giving me different colors, it has already translated all that into preferences file ready code, so I can actually copy and take straight into my Tableau preferences file, ready to go, So super useful examples, very, very useful examples. This is what we needed to, This is how we needed, this is what we can actually do. As you can see, I already created 5 different preferences files and all that. It's actually even asking me if I want a sequential color palette for each one of them. And I'm just going to say yes. And it's going to start building exactly the same thing, but for each one of those bright, bolds, pastels, and neutral colors, How are we doing so far? Are we doing well? Is everything okay?
Absolutely, Pablo. Thank you.
Good, fantastic, excellent. I know we're going really high pace, but it's super simple. I will all these except for the color palette for that I just show you. All the other prompts are going to be in the file that you are going to be able to download in a few minutes. Now let's go for something different. Our third idea was to say, okay, can ChatGPT think? What do you think? Can it think or not? Can we make it think? Can we make it do something different than just replying simple answers? Probably yes, probably not. For this, we're going to ask ChatGPT to create a specific document. How many of you have been in implementation and someone has asked you, one of your leads or managers asked you, can you create a document with the art of possible for viewers, so they actually know for the first time when they go into Tableau what they can do, what they cannot do? Raise your hand if you've been in that situation. Most of you, I would guess, yes, have been in that specific exact situation. You've done it. I bet you did it before. I'm pretty sure, Annabelle, I'm sure about that. I'm going to ask, this is a very long sort of a prompt, but I'm actually asking, look, I want to create a document that is actually the art of possible for viewers in Tableau Server or Tableau Cloud. We can use the same thing, include a table of content, how to do specific things like filtering data, creating personalized views, adding comments, for example, resetting filters, exporting dashboards as a PNG, PDF, or PPTX files, Additional, anything else that I'm missing, feel free to add it. And if you have any questions, ask me those questions. Now, by default, ChatGPT is, many of you may know this or not, by default, ChatGPT will go into this version, this model, which is the 4.0. But if we move to the 03, which is the latest available model for all the accounts that are not Pro, for example, basically you can do that. And I'm going to paste this exactly the same prompt, Now, this might take a few seconds because what it's going to do is going to think, and I'm going to show you what it's actually thinking, and then it's going to start building what we want. As you can see, it's starting thinking, and it's showing me right? What it's actually doing at the moment is searching the web, as you can see. It's going for all sorts of different options. And as you can see, the difference is not giving me an answer straight away. It's actually thinking about the answer. It's actually doing some research before answering. It's compiling the viewers, and it took 31 seconds to go through the thinking process. And if we click in here, for example, it will give us all the steps that it actually took to do that thinking, right? So we can actually analyze and understand what it actually went through to get that information that we're going to need. Now, this might take a few seconds, as I mentioned. So we could probably answer a couple of questions, Annabelle, in the middle, if there are any questions.
Let me check if we have some questions. Alexander Moore asks you, what if I use a regular ChatGPT to create the color palette? What is the advantage of your custom GPT?
The advantage is what's the instructions that are in the background, basically. And all it does is basically, I have already customized the instructions in the background. And when you create a GPT, it actually allows you to give them all the steps and instructions that you want it to follow. And my instructions were that basically it's actually telling, okay, you are a data visualization expert as well as a designer expert. You're going to be using this material, so I can upload material for ChatGPT to actually reference to in terms of for it to create the right outcome as we need it. So basically, instead of creating a custom prompt like this one, for example, or even longer sometimes, this is not a long prompt. Sometimes it can go way, way longer than this. You already create that, you customize that prompt in the background, and every time that GPT works, it's going to reference that that prompt that you did in the background, plus the files that you can upload as well. Now, this is the file that it created already in Word. As you can see, if I go back in here, right, it gave me everything for me to download in Word already. And as you can see, it's giving us the glossary, all the table of contents, everything that we need, the instructions, how to start working with all this, right? And as you can see, all you have to do is fill in the blanks, read through the content, and go through all this. And within a few seconds, within a few minutes, we have a document that it's a good starting point. It's probably not the end product or not the end document, but it's a good starting point. It gives you the starting idea of how to progress or how to work right more in the future. Now, if you want to, you can take some of these sections, for example, take it back into ChatGPT and ask to continue working with it or to expand in all these areas, right? And I can say, okay, I can ask, can you expand on this? Right. Not only that, I can go back, instead of thinking, I can go back to the normal model. I can switch between models while I'm working. And then basically it's going to expand on that particular, right, on that particular part that we asked for it, right? So as you can see, within a few minutes, whoops, it failed for some reason. Okay, let's see what happens. But as you can see, in a few minutes, we fixed a few formula issues, hopefully, right? Consider everything works well. We created one color palette. We created a second color palette. We also converted a very long color palette, sort of a branding guideline, into super quick coding ready for the preferences file. And we also started generating a very simple document content for our guide to viewers, basically. So that's how ChatGPT can help you improve your processes and speed up everything that you do every single day, right? Having said all that, right, we have gone through all 3 demos, right? And thank you very much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. If you want to download this presentation, that's the QR code or the link. And I will also, I think it's going to paste the code, the URL as well. So you can actually download the presentation. And the prompts are, as you can see here, they're all there. So everything we have used, it's absolutely there for you to actually download. Questions? I love questions. Do we have questions?
That was a fantastic demo, Pablo. Thank you very much for your time on the demo. I will just ask you like one question, because after I think that Prasam has to do a quiz.
Oh, there's a quiz, yes.
I mean, there is a lot of questions in the chat, but I wanted to ask you the question from Germain Sid, and I think it's quite philosophical question, but it's quite interesting. How can we ensure that tools like ChatGPT empower us as data analysts instead of making us intellectually passive? I mean, the question is longer, but that's.
Yeah, I get the gist. I think more than make us, I think it empower us basically, and that would be my best question, my best answer. GPTs like this empower us and save us time. How many of you can actually create a color palette that is perfectly good, of really functional, right, using best practices without taking a lot of time? Even me, I've been doing this for a long time, and it takes me a lot of time to create color palette from scratch when I'm doing the visualization. This is a good kickoff, right? I'm not marrying the last color palette that I have, or they gave me. As you can see, I was actually saying, I don't like that red. Can you change it into a pink, for example? Right? And you start iterating, you start working. So you don't take whatever ChatGPT is giving you as a final answer. It's a kickoff. It's a really simple way to start and empower us to actually do our work better and probably even faster. I could also ask ChatGPT to that color palette should be accessible, right? How many of you have to work with red, amber, green? And most of the time, we are not using accessible colors. We can ask them to create a color palette with accessible colors as well, right? So all that is not making us slower. It's actually empowering us to do our jobs or our visualization better and faster. Good. Any other questions? Or if you want, we can continue. We can continue on LinkedIn or anywhere else. I mean, you can find me anywhere, and happy to answer questions or continue later on at some other point. But thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for the invitation to present, and I'll give it back to you. Take care.
Thank you so much, Pablo. Okay, so we are off to the last section of the event for today. So it's going to be a very quick one, 3 questions. You have to type in your answer in the chat itself. The first one with the right answer gets $100 gift voucher from Tableau Store. Very simple. I've kept it very simple, but also now all these questions that I'm going to put there are from the sessions itself. So if you have been focusing, you will be able to answer it, or you won't. Okay. So Annabelle, I'll need your help there with the timer. So this is the first question. Just an example question, okay? So who asked Cristian to use his expertise and find the worst doctor at Cardinal? It's the same guy, but I was using different options. Yeah, John. I wouldn't spell it. It's in the letters. So I prefer title case, and that's why the correct answer is first. Somebody is saying 2. Okay. I think you're going with the username. But yeah. So the idea is going to be each question will have a specific time. First question is going. Yeah, I think people are really looking at your username, and so many of them answered the right one. And so, yes, let's say the correct answer is 1. So you just put in 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 like that. And first with the correct answer wins. So before we go ahead, the first question is going to be, I think all of them are pretty on the easy side. First question is for, you will have a time limit of 20 seconds. Second question will have time limit of 35 seconds. And the third one with 15 seconds. Annabelle, I'll need your like this to close it off. Yeah, that works as well. Whatever. this. Okay. So before we start, let's pump it up. Let's type in ready if you're good to go, and then we can start with the questions. Great. I like the enthusiasm. Almost ready. Yeah. So if Anne is on the call, the first question, she can't answer it. Okay, so just to, because we're using the chat and not any software, I'm just putting a line over here. Okay, so here we go. Annabelle, ready with timer, 20 seconds. Here we go. The first question is, learning AI tools in Tableau by Anne Jackson was launched on which date of this year? March 18, Feb 18, 2025, Feb 25, 2025, March 25, 2018, only Chimdi knows.
Finish.
Hands up. Okay, cool. Okay, so the answer is 2nd, Feb 18, 2025. And let's see who is the winner. Oh, the first one to answer is the winner. Anton Lahai. Okay, Anton, can you please send us your email address and we'll send you the swag, the gift voucher. Somebody, like a lot of them answered 5 as well, Chimdi.
No idea.
Your fan
I
followers.
definitely mentioned it, I think, in her chat. So, and if people wanted to cheat, they could actually just go look on Amazon, probably.
That's where I got the numbers. Okay, so before we go ahead, congratulations, Anton. And now second question goes on for 35 seconds, a bit more verbose. That's why I've kept it like 35 seconds. So the second question is, in a headless BI setup, how are insights typically delivered to users? Through dashboards embedded in web portals, by exporting pre-generated visuals from BI tools for distribution, via custom-built interfaces that call BI APIs for data visuals, or fourth, using scheduled email reports with embedded charts and summaries. I think the time limit should be 5 seconds. I gave it too much. Again, they wanted one more option. 5, only Chimney knows.
Okay, time's up.
Chimney, can you announce the winner? The answer is 3, via custom built interfaces that call BI APIs for data.
Awesome. So it looks like, again, the first person was right at it, Laurie Holm. So congrats, Laurie.
Laurie, please DM us your email ID, or you can message Chimdi because only Chimdi knows.
Yeah, for the moment, we haven't received any DM, at least on my side. So be sure to do it before today.
Maybe everyone is
only-
shooting it to Chimdi. Only Chimdi knows.
Oh, only she.
Donate to charity. Or buy percent some, cool stuff.
Okay, so now the third question. It was mentioned somewhere on the first slide of Pablo, and I think it's the easiest one, but it depends. So I'm going to reduce the third question to now 5 seconds only. No, 5 seconds will be too less. Let's do 10 seconds. Okay, so the third question is, ELIZA, the first NLP program developed by Joseph, was launched in which year? 1950, 1956, 1966, 1960.
Time's up.
Wow.
So, Jimmy, who won?
What's the answer?
Okay. It's 3.
Okay. So our final winner is Daphna Blee. She was the first person that got it. And most people, for some reason, said, okay, I guess no, there's a few other 3s, but she was the first one. Or she or he. Awesome. Congrats.
Well, this one Chimdi doesn't know because it was way before he was born. So,
Yeah. Well, you never know. This might be my second time here, right?
yeah. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. We have our 3 winners. And please send us your email IDs, or I'll have to randomly send it to someone. Okay, so please send us your email IDs and I'll send you as soon as possible. I think I've got some DMs. I've got Laurie and Anton. Okay. Daphna, I need yours as well. And thank you so much. This is it for this month. See you next month. You can scan this QR code and register for our upcoming session on 4th of Thursday, July. And we are looking forward to hosting you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.